Good evening, everybody. We'll start with today's session. Dear friends, we are discussing regarding the mental diseases since last 2-3 lectures. We have started with aphorism number 210, and he started with the thought that the way you treat the corporeal diseases, in the similar manner, you have to treat the mental diseases. They are part and parcel of one-sided diseases only. So your homeopathic management never changes. It remains to be the same. The way you take into consideration the state of disposition and mind of the person while dealing with the corporeal diseases, in the similar manner, you have to take into consideration the same things, the state of disposition and mind, along with if there are any physical symptoms. And then you have to form the totality and you have to handle all those mentally. But your approach should be very clear in your mind. And that's why it is necessary to understand what type of mental disease it is. Then it is possible to exactly go ahead with a specific line of treatment. Hahnemann sir have classified the mental diseases into the 4 types, out of which 2 we have discussed. The first variety of mental disease is the variety where the corporeal diseases disappears due to some local treatment or due to some allopathic treatment, and then mental diseases arises. That means a material disease getting transmitted to the dynamic disease and ultimately reflected in the form of first variety of mental disease. Many common examples are paranoid schizophrenic traits, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, anxiety neurosis, depression. Varieties of the chronic mental diseases are always the result of this corporeal suppression and ultimately leading to such a disorder. And Hahnemann says such types of disorders you require only homeopathic management. The remedy which is deep acting, considering the miasmatic background. During Hahnemannian time, miasmatic background found to be very commonly a sora, and that's why he explains the antisoric remedy. But according to the modern age, we have to take into consideration what is the present miasm, and accordingly you have to select a right remedy depending on that miasm. It might be antipsychotic, it might be antisyphilitic, it might be mixed miasmatic. It varies from case to case, but that is the remedy which will going to cure that patient. The second type of disease which we have discussed in yesterday's lecture, where there is any acute exciting cause responsible to produce acute manifestation of the some manic disorders in the form of sudden hysteria, some sudden violent expressions, and that acute state is caused because of some exciting cause, as if sudden fright, a quarrel with someone, and patient goes into a violent state. Hahnemann says this variety is basically result because the background miasm is always the sora. Patient is in latent phase of that miasm, and that latent phase gets excited. It gets exposed because of the some exciting cause. And when it exposed, when it gets expressed, at that time, an acute remedy for that specific state, which is non antisoric remedy, so which is not covering the miasm, a remedy which has that pace, which has that acute manifestation, which has that um, state of disposition, which matches with the patient's state of disposition, that remedy will be the patient's first remedy in that case. But not only that, one more thing he explains over there. After giving an acute remedy, if the patient settles in immediately, you have to treat him with proper antisoric remedy to complete recovery, along with 2 important things: diet and regimen the patient should follow. And that part we have discussed in the yesterday's lecture. The second variety, second type of diseases, and second their homeopathic management. One more aphorism is still remaining about that second type of mental diseases. That is aphorism number 223. What exactly he wants to explain in that aphorism? Let us go ahead with the 223. But if the antisoric treatment be omitted. So after treating the patient with acute and not giving an antisoric followed by, what will happen? He says. But if the antisoric treatment be omitted, then we may almost assured means khatri, assuredly expect from a such lighter cause than brought on the first attack of the insanity, the speedy occurrence of the new and more lasting and severe fit, during which the Sora usually develops itself completely and passes into either a periodic or continued mental derangement, which is then more difficult to cure by antisoric. So what he said, if you don't give antisoric after acute attack, then what may happen? Patient will definitely land into the problem again. At that time, very slightest exciting cause is sufficient to bring back again into the attack of mental degeneration. And when it reappears, it goes on appearing again and again until the mental derangement happens. And then what he says, then that antisoric will be not of any useful to the patient later on. And that's why in second variety of acute diseases, second variety of mental diseases, immediately after an acute medicine is given, immediately after that, you must follow it with antisoric remedy. See, his plan of treatment was very clear, and that plan one must learn. What happens? We just prescribe. It should not happen. There should be a plan in our mind how to tackle the disease. And for that purpose, we must have knowledge of what type of disease the patient is suffering from. It is not only related with mental diseases, with any disease, you must have a typical plan in your mind. If you develop that plan in your mind, then it becomes rather simple to find it out exactly how to go ahead. So your thoughts should be born in such a way that you should create a very specific plan in your mind while handling the chronic diseases. So my suggestion to all of you, when you read any disorder from the medicine, think about how will you manage that case. For example, if you are taking into consideration a diabetes, so what will be your management? How will you go ahead? What will be the auxiliary measures? What you are going to advise to the patient? Everything which you are going to take into consideration, and on the basis of which you can go ahead. So plan should be there. And Hahnemann was very clear about his plans whenever he used to manage any variety of disease. So when he discussed about the one-sided diseases previously, that also he has very specifically mentioned the plan of diseases. He classified diseases, then he has classified the one-sided diseases with external manifestation, internal manifestation. The internal manifestation, again he has explained two varieties. Everything was planned. And that plan itself works if you know the things very clear. And for that purpose, while explaining about these mental diseases also, he explains the plan. So in first variety, he directly says you give the proper antisoric remedy or anti-miasmatic remedy, that's the treatment. But in second variety, he explains it should be first, there should be a acute remedy followed by an antisoric remedy along with diet and regime. See, if it settles in your mind properly, it is very easy to tackle all those disorders and treat those disorders with confidence. So this is the second variety of mental disease. That's what Hahnemann have discussed. Let us go ahead with the third variety. Today we have to finish this aphorism along with its big footnote is there to this paragraph. That also we have to finish. So aphorism number 224. The third type of mental diseases. If the mental disease be not quite developed, and if it be still somewhat doubtful whether it really arose from the corporeal affection or not, did not rather result from faults of education, bad practices, corrupt morals, neglect of mind, superstition, or ignorance. The mode of deciding this point will be that if it proceed from one or other of the latter causes, it will diminish and be improved by sensible friendly exhortations. Exhortations म्हणजे आवर्जून एखादी गोष्ट सांगणे, सल्ला देणे. Exhortations. consolatory arguments. Consolation म्हणजे दुसऱ्याचं सांत्वन करणे. Consolatory arguments. Serious representations and sensible advice. So whenever you are dealing with the patient, you are quite serious regarding his problem and explaining him the things and giving him a proper advice. What he says further, whereas a real moral or mental malady, depending on the bodily disease, would speedily aggravated by such course. The melancholic would become still more dejected, querulous. Dejected म्हणजे खिन्न होणे, डिस्टर्ब होणे, नाराज होणे. क्वेर्युलस, क्वेर्युलस म्हणजे भांडखोर, ते तक्रारखोर. इनकन्सोलेबल, जो ज्याचं कन्सोलेशन करता येणार नाही. Reserved, he becomes more reserved. And the spiteful maniac, spiteful म्हणजे खुनशी, खुन्नस. The spiteful maniac would thereby become still more exasperated. Exasperated म्हणजे संतापणं. The chattering fool, chattering म्हणजे वायफळ बडबड करणारा, fool म्हणजे मूर्ख मनुष्य, become manifestly more foolish. See, the third variety which he tries to explain is a confusing variety. Here the patient is in early phase of his disease and he presents something. You don't know whether he belongs to first variety of diseases, that is suppressing the corporeal leading to the mental disease, or whether it is because of some exciting cause. All those causes which he has explained over there, that is bad practices, faults of education, because of corrupt morals, because of sudden pride, because of neglection, because of superstition, because of ignorance. It might be one of the exciting cause, which might be one of the reason behind it. If it is because of some exciting cause, it may manifest in the similar manner. Or if it be first variety, it may manifest in the similar manner in early phase. You are in a confused state. The third variety, the confused state between the first and second. How to understood that whether it is from the first type of mental disease or whether it is from the second type of mental disease, you are in confusion. Then he has given one trick. If it is because of second variety, that means if it is because of some exciting cause, then if you give advice to the patient, if you make a consolation of the patient, if you give a psychotherapy to the patient, if you have a good rapport with the patient and explaining him something, if you show sympathy towards that patient, then if he is from second variety of diseases, he definitely feel better. He likes that. His problem never gets aggravated. In fact, he feels better with the help of all those advices. And then you can recognize this is the second variety or second type of mental disease. And then you can give him proper acute remedy and followed by antisoric remedy and ask him to maintain a diet and regime. But after giving this friendly advice or a consolation or a psychotherapy, if his problem gets aggravated, that a person who is violent becomes more violent. If the person is vindictive, he becomes more vindictive. If a person is suspicious, he becomes more suspicious. Whatever may be his presentation, if it gets aggravated after your friendly exhortation or after giving him proper advice, then keep it in your mind. This is definitely a first variety of a mental disease. Then this variety is the first type of mental disease. And if it is so, your friendly advice, your consolation, your sympathy, your good talk with the patient doesn't matter. In fact, it aggravates. Patient always remains to be in suspicious states in first variety of mental disease. So it will not going to work. It will not going to cure that patient or settle that patient. So you can understand this patient is nothing but the first first variety of mental disease. And if it is so, then your treatment is purely anti-psoric remedy or anti-miasmatic remedy. There is no acute remedy, there is no consolation, there is no auxiliary measure. Whatever you will going to prescribe is only and only anti-miasmatic remedy. So third variety is confusing variety between first and second, and how to recognize that first and second. That test he has mentioned over there in this aphorism, and accordingly your homeopathic management depends upon you. So is it clear in your mind? The third variety. So first we have discussed corporeal to mental. Second, acute exacerbation, acute maniac states due to the exciting cause. And third is nothing but the confused state between first and second, and how to recognize that also he has mentioned regarding it. So this is third type of mental disease. There is one footnote to this paragraph. We'll go with footnote. What he says. It would seem as though the mind, in these cases, felt with uneasiness and grief the truth of these rational representations and acted upon mind as if it wished to restore the lost harmony, but that the body, by means of its disease, reacted upon the organs of mind and disposition, and put them in still greater disorder by fresh transference of his sufferings onto them. So what he says, if the if this is the first type of mental disease, and if you start giving him psychotherapy, his problems will not accept the things. You observe the patients of paranoid schizophrenia, you observe the patients of depression, you observe the patients of OCDs, and just try to console them. How they react, just see. I've seen this a number of times. If you try to show a sympathy towards them, they becomes more suspicious about it. That is very typical with such types of problems. In such types of cases, the problems definitely gets aggravated because of consolation, because of psychotherapy. And Hahnemann here puts very clearly that such a variety of mental disease, there should not be any role of psychotherapy. In fact, psychotherapy plays aggravative rule or role over there in such types of diseases. Here, purely an anti-psoric or purely an anti-miasmatic treatment which is needed in such types of cases. So we have finished three types of mental diseases. The first variety, where the corporeal disease turning towards the mental disease. Second variety, the acute manifestation of the late psora in the form of some acute maniac disorder. Third variety, where you are not clear whether it is type 1 or type 2 and in early phase, and then you have to understand it with the help of just a sympathetic role or with the friendly exhortation or with the help of some psychotherapy. If patient settles, it is definitely second variety. Your treatment is acute remedy followed by antisoric followed by diet and regimen. But if his trouble starts aggravating, it shows that patient is from first variety of mental disease. Your treatment is purely antisoric or anti-miasmatic. So third type of mental disease today we have finished. Tomorrow we'll continue with the fourth variety of mental disease, and we'll finish the fourth type of mental disease in next lecture. So I think we'll stop over here. Any queries are there, we'll have a chat. Otherwise, we'll conclude. Any questions? When a patient comes, I will tell you one case, and this goes in favor of the which mental disease you tell. Yeah, you tell me and you tell me the remedy. So one patient all of a sudden come to my OPD and he said, Doctor, please check my blood pressure. Please check me immediately. Just find it out whether I'm having any heart problem or anything. And he's in a restless phase comes to you. And then you ask, what has happened? What is the problem? Sir, just nearby our residence, there is one death happens to a very young man who got the heart attack and he died just now. And I felt very, very frightened and I feel I might have an attack and that's why I'm here. That's all. That is the case. So which variety? This is the which variety of mental disease? First, yes, it is the second variety. What is the
Second
remedy?
variety, sir. Second variety. Aconite.
Patient is not in agony. If patient is in agony, it's okay. I agree the agony. Here, second variety is very clear. But what is the rubric? If you get the rubric, you will get the remedy. Any idea? Anguish is a big terminology. Simple thing. Why patient comes to you? He comes to you with fear. But what type of fear it is? Someone close to them died because of heart attack and he feel he might get the same attack. What type of fear? Fear superstitious. Single remedy is Rustox. Fear superstitious. The simple remedy is Rustox. Only remedy in your repertory. So you have to understand exactly what the patient expresses and how the patient comes to you. He has mentioned that someone's has happened. I felt I might get it. This is superstitious fear. And that is what he is in front of you. So remedy is very clear. Fear superstitious, single remedy, Rustox. In new remedies, new repertories, Conaim is added over there. But earlier repertories, it was only purely Rustox. So and Rustox is the remedy, which is acute remedy, which covers that phase of presentation. So you have to understand exactly the rubric, the state of the patient in the rubric, and then you can prescribe right remedy. Okay.
In what potency, sir? The stocks 1M.
If he is an acute, yes, 1M, 10M, few doses, no so much of repetition is needed. So, any other query, any other question? So we'll stop over here and we'll meet tomorrow with the fourth variety of mental diseases. Okay? Thank you. Thanks everyone.